Hello, everybody, and we are fresh off. Well, not fresh off. I'm doing this probably about 24 hours after the card at the Apex heated up. Haven't seen Better BF versus Baval, although I do know who won. I will be watching that later to get some boxing action in. And what do I have to say about this card? Kind of at the top of the hour here. The most notable storyline, honestly, was Sal D'Amato just not knowing how to judge, which is not anything new to us, but he was a dissenting judge in 3 out of 4 split decisions tonight. And only one of those split decisions, I think, is remotely accurate. I think Rodriguez Morono can be a split decision. I think that is. I think that is an option. Sue me. But the other one's absolutely not. So let's get into the main event here. Brandon Royval versus Tetsuya Taira. This fight was really easy to score, I thought. Round 1, Taira's getting outboxed for the most part, outlanded, harder shots, etc. Gets a takedown, gets 44 seconds of top control. That's about it. Official stats have him being outlanded 17-11, 17-10 in significant strikes. I thought that was a round for Royval. And for the record, I think that Royval fought really, really well here. I think this is the rare fight where both of these guys come off looking good. Because in Taira's case, he faced adversity, lost rounds, and still fought through it and won the 4th, won the 2nd round, etc. with basically back control, which summarized that one. Very little activity fight rounds. Got the back control, got the body triangle. There you go. That's the word. And basically controlled it for 4+ minutes of the 2nd and the 4th round. So, showed the ability to, number 1, do that against a very, very good scrambler, and number 2, deal with adversity and pick up the W and pick up rounds after getting his butt kicked, particularly in the 3rd round, which I'll quickly talk about here. The 3rd one was terrible, 81-7. Royval could have, I think, easily gotten a 10-8 round in that round. I think he had Taira hurt multiple times in the 3rd round. He had him hurt, I think, quite badly, and was able to, do his typical thing where he lands a bunch of stuff, but also with power. And that's kind of the thing I took away from this with Royval, is that he went from a guy who throws a lot of empty volume, and he still does at times, but he clearly in this fight was willing to sit down on stuff, hurt people, in this case Taira, and also defend takedowns. So even though the takedown defense numbers are not spectacular, 6 for 15 for Taira, it does show, I think, an improvement that he can step into the pocket, land hard shots, and not get taken down and not get put on his back for long periods of the fight. Although, of course, it did happen in the 2nd and the 4th round. But he showed in the 3rd round, 0 for 4 for Taira, 1 for 3, and then 2 for 3 in the 5th round, that he could stop takedowns against a guy who is an elite wrestler in this division, and also scramble out of some stuff and do some problems. He, threatened the neck a couple of times. He, did well on the ground. 5th round was kind of the same again. Heavy volume advantage for Taira, or for Royval, including a takedown of his own in that round, and also just kind of domination, although not to the same degree as the 3rd round. The 3rd round is the only one that I think could go 10-8, just because 81-7 significant, or in total strikes, 56-5 in significant strikes. It was very bad. He had him hurt very, very badly, and I don't think that was quite the same. It definitely wasn't the same in the 1st round, and I don't think it was the same in the 5th round, where Taira was able to more or less survive and be somewhat competitive, although again losing out on the volume heavily. So what does Taira have to improve off of this fight? It's just kind of the things we figured he would have to improve. He has to probably step up the pace a little bit as a striker, land a little bit more, be a little bit more defensively stable, or responsible, I should say, not to get let up like he did, particularly in round 3. And he should be fine. He's young enough to take this lesson and learn from it and become a better fighter. I thought he would win, but he lost in a manner that I don't think is actually fraud checking. I know some people are probably going to use. I didn't see it actually on social media, so I applaud the usual efforts of the social media not to call him a fraud or call this a fraud check. But there is definitely some things to learn from and become better off of this fight for, obvious reasons. I think that's, that has to be pointed out, that you went out there and lost. As for the judging, This was one of the ones that D'Amato was the split decision guy. He gave the first round to Tyra. It is, if you're going to score for Tyra, I'll give him credit. That is the only round you could possibly go with. So credit there. But I think at the end of the day, there's just really no way to score it that way. He, again, had no real control in the first round. About 44 seconds per UFC stats. He had only one successful takedown, and he got outstruck. And again, it's not like control should win you a round. It's the effective grappling, the effective striking, the effective damage. And the damage was Royval's. The effective striking was Royval's. The effective grappling was neutral, honestly, because, Royval did stuff 2 takedowns and limited him to 44 seconds of top control, which nothing really happened. Nothing really happened. Except for ironically, Royval going for a knee bar and a heel hook attempt on Tyra. So I don't even know if Tyra won the grappling in that round. So I don't know how you can give him that round. The Sal D'Amato doing bad things that we should be used to right now. The matchmaking for these guys is really kind of hard though, because with Royval, he had this weird problem. He's popped Moreno and gone 1-1 against him. He's gone 0-2 against the champ. You've booked Albazi versus Moreno, which I think was a really bad idea. You should have probably booked Albazi in a title shot. I know you're giving that to Kai Asakura, which is cool. That's a much cooler fight, but I don't know. That feels like a waste with how the division is right now and how Pantoja has cleared out a lot of it on his way to the title and since getting the title. You could do something like Steve Erceg, but that feels like incredibly upward momentum. I guess that anticlimactic. There you go. That's the word. I don't know, but I just don't have anything better. Tyra versus Tadger Ulanbekov would be a fun fight. Then we had Brad Tavares versus Jung Young Park, and this is another split decision, although for a change, not from Sal D'Amato. This time it was from Mr. Jamiro Kimijio. Okay, round 1 goes to Tavares, obviously. Got the knockdown, outlanded him, 27-21, again, to use the stats. Park did get some control time, but it was largely very, very empty control time. Not much there. Not much at all. And Park also got away with kind of not that he was trying. I mean, I'm sure he thought he got eye poked, but he got a break when Tavares hit him in the eye with a thumb, and well, that got a break. The referee caught it and called it in, but still got a minute when he was looking kind of bad. But then the second and the third round come around, and this is when Jung Young Park starts doing Jung Young Park things. When the Iron Turtle starts taking over, he has 2 takedowns in that time. Granted, in the second round, not much there, but heavily outlanded him, 68-31 and 35-15. We're talking 2-1 in the second round, 3-1 in the or not 3-1, but better than 2-1 in the third round, where Tavares just can't really get much going. I don't know really what happened, because I can't point to an adjustment that Park really made. Honestly, maybe it was just that Tavares' entire first round success was just because he caught Park early and hurt him and knocked him down. And it was everything else was just a product of going from that. But I don't know. I will say Tavares did kind of abandon a lot of low kicks towards the later rounds. I wonder, UFC stats, do you have numbers on that? You do. Oh, thank you. Yeah, here we go. 5 for 5 in low kicks in the first round, which were looking pretty effective. He only threw 5 the rest of the way. So yeah, gave up on the low kicks, which I think is probably part of the problem. But at the end of the day, Tavares kind of just always looks like this. He's a fighter that has the physical gifts, even now in his mid-30s, to be a pretty good fighter. He's reasonably durable. He's incredibly hard to out wrestle. So props to Park for getting any takedowns. But his striking is just so bizarre, because it's a Ray Sefo schooled fighter. You would think that the kickboxing would be good. The combinations would be sharp. The power would be there, but the power's never been there, and he never really throws a lot in combination. So he hurts Park early, can't finish him. And then from that point onwards, the striking just slowly and slowly goes further and further into Park's favor, basically just because of a constant presence of a jab. And it's not like Park is some super rangy, built to jab in a way that you can't deal with guy. He's a 5'10" middleweight with a 73-inch reach. So that's just kind of very Brad Tavares, I guess. I don't have much more to say about that fight, honestly, other than we'll talk about the decision here real quick. The judge who dissented, like I said, was Camijo. I want to say he probably gave 1 and 3 to... No. He gave the second round to Tavares. That's wrong. Again, to be clear here, stats mean, very little under most circumstances, but they give you an idea of the volume, right? And the thing is, Tavares didn't really hurt Park in the second round any significant way. No real damage was done. No takedowns to speak of. Pure kickboxing match outside of 35 seconds. And he got outlanded 68-31. In total strikes, 67-31 in significant strikes. I'm not sure what the unsignificant strike was. But I don't see how you can give him that round. I think if you're getting outlanded 2-1 in the neighborhood of 60 plus strikes getting hit with, you have to hurt the guy. You have to show me something, or you have to show me that the other guy is in no way hurting you. And that was not the case. I'm not saying Jung Young Park was out there ringing Tavares' bell on a regular basis. He was not. But he was, he was snapping the head back. He was doing damage. This was not empty volume. This was not, honestly, I just complimented Brandon Royval, so let's bring it back to, this was not Brandon Royval versus Brandon Moreno, empty volume. This was proper. We're landing with weight behind it strikes, and I have no idea how Jamiro Camicio went that direction. So for Park, I've got Joe Pyfer. Pyfer's cooled off a little bit. He did beat Marc-Andre Barrio, but he had that headbutt of Jack Hermanson, the limitations to your game. And Park is a very, very winnable fight for Pyfer while being an interesting enough challenge. And something that, Pyfer, would still probably be Pyfer's best win. I want to... Let me think here for a hot second. Watch as Park has lost to Barrio, and I'm just not remembering it. No, he beat Marc-Andre Barrio. So there you go. A guy who beat Marc-Andre Barrio, who Pyfer just, beat and got kind of, back on the run, back on the roll. And let's be honest, the prior best win of Pyfer's career is still Gerald Mearshart and Razak Al Hassan. So there you go. Perfect level of fight that you could put on as a main card, Apex card, or even maybe an opener on a travel card. Probably not a pay-per-view, but still. And for Tavares, I've got Cesar Almeida. I'm pretty sure I had something else for Cesar Almeida because he just fought and beat Ihor Potteria. But Tavares really probably will not wrestle Almeida. And he's got a name to possibly do something with. So whatever I had for Almeida beforehand, this would be better. So there you go. Chidi Njokuani versus Jared Gooden. This was a frustrating fight because Gooden would punch his way into the clinch and just get stuck there over and over and over and over again. There was no path to victory going on there at all. I understand that I don't even think he was necessarily going for a lot of takedowns. I'm curious here, how many takedowns did they actually give him credit for trying? 8 of them. 1 for 4 in the first round, 1 for 4 in the third round. Yeah, so in the second round particular, they spent almost the entire time in the clinch, and he apparently attempted 0 takedowns. And I kind of agree with that. There wasn't I don't know what the game plan was. I don't understand. Gooden missed weight for this fight, if I do recall correctly. It was him and Dan Argueta that missed weight. I want to say verify. Yeah, 172 and a half. Also, Josh Frem, that fight got canceled though. Yeah, I want to give Chidi Njokuani credit because this was one of his more composed performances where he made largely nothing but correct decisions. It's just Gooden fought so badly and was so, I don't even know what your winning condition was thought to be, that I can't. Cheating is a problem at 170. He is huge. He is massive. He is powerful. He is a talented striker when you keep bringing the fight to him. And as long as you kind of force a fight on him, he'll be pretty active. But I'm not really sure if this fight revealed anything new, and I wasn't expecting it to. I kind of thought that this was kind of a waste of a booking, but oh well. For Chidi, I've got Santiago Ponzinibbio. That'd be a fun fight between two veterans. And Gooden, he either gets cut or he's Dana White Contender Series fodder, by which I don't mean he's fighting on Contender Series, but like he's the welcoming door, kind of like what I'm going to talk about later with like Dan Argueta. I guess he is 1-2 in this run, beating Wellington Turman and losing to Carlson Harris, so probably still has a fight on his contract, but I can't say that I'm interested in it. He's a reasonable athlete. He's perfectly fine. And there's just nothing to his game whatsoever. He would have to be an exceptional athlete to make any of this work. Grant Dawson just did Grant Dawson things against Rafa Garcia. Took him down in the second round. Got him down. Elbowed him. Busted him open. Got the stoppage. First round was much the same, just without the stoppage. Anyways, Dawson versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Garcia versus Nurul Aliyev would be my picks. Again, didn't think that Garcia had a path to victory. He did not. And that is really all there is to it. Dawson was, I think, the biggest favorite on the card, so that makes sense. Anyways, that's all I got. And then Daniel Rodriguez versus Alex Morono. By the way, I want to say some judge gave Gooden a round, and they didn't. Okay. Whoa, I was misremembering that. Okay. Now we get into Sal D'Amato screws up yet again. This was the most understandable one. This was Alex Morono versus Daniel Rodriguez. Round 1 opens up, and Rodriguez is kind of getting shut down. Morono clearly has done his homework. He's outlanding him. He's threatening good counters. He's like, okay, if you want to, I'm going to come forward. I'm going to pressure you. If you try to come forward, I know what you do. I know the entries you like to use. Bang, bang. Hit you with the counter, threaten it. Not even like particularly hard hits, but like a lot of like threatening of like, I am going to rock you on the counter. And then it just kind of stopped working. Like Rodriguez kind of figured out how to get on the front foot a little bit more, how to get his volume going. Went from 25 strikes landed in round 1 to 44 to 57. Just kind of building and building and building and building and building with that calf kick and like combination punching game. Like, it's a Daniel Rodriguez fight. It's not fancy. It's not complex. It's very much a basic fight style, but it is applied. And there is a reason that the fundamentals are the fundamentals. So congratulations to Daniel Rodriguez, who gets the W against Alex Morono. I thought it was very clear that he won rounds 2 and 3. I kind of get it. They felt a little bit close watching it. The stats do not make it seem that way, but the judges do not have the stats to go with. They have to use their eyeballs. So of the split decisions, this was the closest one that I thought had any basis being it. Like watching it, I wasn't like that's an obvious Rodriguez round, but like I did think like if Adelaide Bird can get it right and Michael Bell can get it right, who are not good judges, Sal D'Amato should have been able to get it right. Let's see here. A couple of media scores did have it for Morono. Okay. Sure Dog, MMA Junkie, Combat Press. Okay. So there you go. I always have a soft spot for Morono, so I probably also overrated anything he was doing just because he is the king of underachievement. Not underachievement, overachievement. There you go. He is the king of overachievement in terms of, I'm still, like, we're almost a decade after he got signed by the UFC, and he's still here as a guy who doesn't have any physical gifts that indicate that he should be able to compete at 170. So, go Morono. As for next opponents, I've got Daniel Rodriguez against Gabriel Bonfim, and I got Morono against Danny Barlow as a battle of two guys who are the complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Morono, I just talked about, is that overachiever without the athletic gifts. Barlow is an underachiever who has all the athletic gifts I think you could ask for in terms of explosiveness, speed, and also an excellent frame for 170. So he should be doing better. Josh Frem versus Abdul Razak Al Hassan was canceled after Frem missed weight by like 3 pounds, I think, 189. And I don't have much to say about CJ Vergara versus Ramazan Temirov. It was basically Temirov going out there and just putting it to him. And yeah, there wasn't really any moment that like I thought Vergara was like asking really much in the way of questions for him. He was covering up a lot, and Temirov worked at a bit of a slow pace to start with, but once he got going, the overhands are going, the swarming is on, the power, boom, boom, boom. Vergara survived being dropped, I think, twice, and eventually on the third one gets body shot up against the fence and melts. Great debut for Ramazan Temirov. The Ethnic Hat wins once again. Thank you, Byron. And I've got him against Jafal Filo next. I've got Vergara against the next guy coming out of the Contender Series. It's kind of been what he's been. He's the guy who welcomes the prospects to the cage. And sometimes he wins. Clydeson Rodriguez, for example. But often he's going to lose because he's overmatched. So Temirov looks like the real deal. And that is awesome because I'm hyped for a new country, relatively. I mean, we've had Uzbekistanis, of course, in the UFC before. That's not new. But one that has, like, legitimate upward momentum to actually go places, that would be pretty damn cool. So, anyways, Filo will test him against a guy who's going to, regardless of his own safety, try to come forward and try to grapple him. So, it's a new challenge. It's a new thing. It's a step up to a guy who is on a... to be honest, a little bit of a surprising hot streak here. Let me see. What has Jafal Filo been doing lately? Because I honestly did not think Filo would do very well. But yeah, he's beaten Daniel Barras and Ode Osborne. And the Ode Osborne win, that's a good one. That's a solid one. And Barras is a guy who, I mean, he did just win. Against Victor Altamirano, albeit a little bit controversially. But yeah, that's a solid debut for Temirov. And we move on to the next one, which was Jonathan Pierce just getting wrestle and grapple effed by Pat Sabatini. I was very, very wrong in this fight. I was very confident that Jonathan Pierce would actually just win it. I thought he had, he's not a good striker, but he's the better of the two. He works at a higher pace. He's a more effective like takedown game. I thought I was wrong. Sabatini went out there and just kind of like made him his bitch, basically. Honestly, it doesn't really go much further than that. And I don't want to say had a statement-making performance because, I mean, Pierce is on a 3-fight losing streak or whatever, but he went out there and he dominated probably, I don't know, I want to say probably more than he ever has before. Like, I'm looking at Sabatini's UFC record. You've got you got a second-round submission over Lucas Almeida. Then you got the decision against TJ Laramie, Tucker Lutz. Again, I guess he'll hook against Emmers, but if I remember correctly, did he not just like get dropped by Emmers and then heel hooked him? I could be wrong on that. I haven't watched that fight in a hot second. I probably should have actually on the lead up to this fight because Emmers is kind of like a more athletic version of Jonathan Pierce, but also like a better judged one. So I don't know. Anyways, next opponents, I've got Sabatini against Nathaniel Wood. I've got Pierce against. It's Dana White Contender Series fodder where he's just getting sent to the unemployment line because he's lost 3 in a row. Don't get me wrong, it's 3 in a row against like, quality solid fighters in Pat Sabatini, David Onama, and Joe Anderson Brito. But it's still 3 in a row and you're not super exciting. You haven't won since 2021, and that was against Darren Elkins. And then before that, it was Makwan Amirkhani. And I guess Christian Rodriguez and Kai Kamaka hold up pretty well, but that's it's kind of about it. I'm not saying Pierce is a bad fighter, but I am saying he's a little bit dull to be a guy losing 3 in a row. Themba Garimbo largely looked pretty okay against Nico Price. I'm not going to complain about anything here. His striking looked a little bit better when it was kind of like slow, but when it got like messy, when Price like brought him into like prolonged exchanges, the form kind of did break down still. So work in progress, but he had no real difficulties taking down Nico Price, like kind of over and over and over again. And once he was on the ground, he was able to neutralize him. And it's like, it's not the most exciting performance in the world, but it's a comprehensive victory where you outlanded him 45-13, 52-19, and 44-26. And you spent about 9.25 minutes on top on 7 to 9 takedowns. It's pretty damn good. I still do think that like the betting odds were wrong. I know that's gonna sound weird, but it's like he was the second biggest favorite on the card, and I just don't. I don't think like even looking at results based, thinking here for a moment here, he was not the most dominant performance, the second most dominant performance on the card. Like we did have Chidi and Jaquani, Jared Gooden, which was a more dominant performance. We had Grant Dawson, we had Ramazan Temirov, we had Pat Sabatini. So yeah, I still think that the odds were like way too wide, but like I also did pick him without like any real second thought on the matter. So there you go. I just you can't bet minus 420 on Themba Garimba. Anyways, for next opponent, so I got the winner of Renat Fakhretdinov versus Nursultan Ruziboev. And I've got Price, honestly, just facing the loser of those. I mean, you can do whatever you want with Price. He's a scrappy little guy. Like, not a little guy. Shouldn't say little guy. He's taller than I am. But he's a scrappy dude. You can put him in there with people and like kind of learn some things about them. So, there is that. And then Junior Tafa versus Sean Seraph. This was a super short notice fight for Seraph replacing Chris Barnett. By the way, Tafa also was replacing the original opponent for Barnett, which was Waldo Cortez Acosta. So, yeah, this fight just kept getting kind of downgraded. But, yeah, it was pretty fun. It was a heavyweight bomb fest. I'm fine with it, whatever. They were throwing hammers at each other. Tafa was getting generally the better of it, but earned a very firm warning when Sheriff went for a takedown, and he blatantly grabbed the cage. Should have had a point taken. Personal opinion. Wouldn't have mattered at the end of the day because we get to the second round and Sheriff's out of gas. Tafa's also not far from out of gas as well, if we're being honest. And at the end of the day, Tafa ends up stopping him on the with a standing one along the cage. And he had him staggered a number of times. He had him hurt quite badly. You could definitely stop that. You could have stopped that fight earlier. In my opinion, it would have been totally fine. So Junior Tafa, he was talking about 205. Possibly, but I mean, I'm going to assume he stays at heavyweight. I've got him against Jamal Pogues. I've got Sheriff against a guy from Contender Series because, to be honest, he's a guy who should be on Contender Series. Don't get me wrong, he's a little bit older, but I think he's like 31. But he was 4-0 coming into this fight with opponents that have a combined record of 4-6. So not exactly UFC competition, but I mean, all things considered, before he gassed, he looked okay. Like the stand-up wasn't garbage. The takedown attempts weren't horrible for heavyweight. And maybe he'll do something, maybe he won't. I mean, I'm not going to say that anything like made me like really like guarantee anything for him. But he didn't get exposed as something unfixable. Like, dude is clearly very, very tough. And given a full camp, he might have something to offer. Julia Polastri versus Corey McKenna was another split decision, which I did not understand. I scored at 30-27 for Polastri, but I did say that the third round, because there was about 3 minutes of control time for Corey McKenna, could possibly go to Corey McKenna, maybe if you want to go that way, but like I don't even think so. She got outlanded badly, 58-43, 49-20, and still in the round that she had 3 minutes of top control, was 35-35, and she had only 8 significant strikes to Polastri's 22. Polastri had her outgunned. That's just all there was to it. I mean, I was surprised by this fight. I've not been a booster of Polastri. Don't get me wrong, she's an exciting fighter. I was happy to have her added to the strawweight division, but I thought that this was like just be kind of like an action fighter thing. This fight kind of changed my mind on the matter. She is an action fighter still fun, still high output, still very active. But there was a physicality that was communicated here that I don't think had happened before. Because like McKenna ran into an absolute brick wall anytime she tried to wrestle with her. To the point where like her corner, and keep in mind this is Corey McKenna who has a 58.5-inch reach. Was that like, I want to say like a 5.5-inch reach disadvantage? Yeah, 5.5-inch reach disadvantage. 6.5 inch reach disadvantage. Holy moly. Against Polastri. Okay, we got a box with her. We can't clinch with her. And it's like, that's ridiculous. So Polastri went out there, did a destructive thing, and I lost. and I lost some money. But you know what? I enjoyed being proved wrong. And Polastri looks like someone who actually might have something for her, because I don't think anyone's quite done that to Corey McKenna. Like that kind of like just kind of outmatch. Like she's been beaten before, obviously. She lost to Jacqueline Amarine. She lost to Elise Reed. But like the Elise Reed fight was like an exploitation of her reach. And then the Amarin fight is really, top notch prospect. Let's be honest here. Like very good jiu-jitsu practitioner. But like other than that, like she had beaten Cheyenne Velismus, Miranda Granger, Kay Hansen, Vanessa Damopoulos, and it kind of felt like Velismus was the closest to Polastri. So to go out there and do what she did here is very, very, very impressive. So that might have been the performance of the night in terms of like just altering my opinion on where their career is going to go, not necessarily like the quality of the fight. Although, to be honest, I'm not sure how many. Well, obviously, you got to give Temirov a performance of the night bonus. You probably got to give Clayton Carpenter, we're going to talk about later, and that's who got them. So, like, I have no problem with that. Cody Haddon versus Dan Argueta. This was next opponents. Pardon me. McKenna is down to like contender series level for a little bit, I think, and then Polastri I've got against Sam Hughes, who's another kind of a better version of Corey McKenna. A more prepared one, probably actually a little bit more like, I don't want to say more athletic, but a little bit more size parity. So let's kind of dig deeper onto this this thread here. Dan Argueta versus Cody Haddon. Cody Haddon looked really good. Great counterpunching, lit him up pretty much throughout. He does have a problem with getting taken down. To be clear, this is a concern. It was a concern for me coming in that you could get taken down by Dan Argueta a couple of times and have a hard time. But like he also stuffed 20 takedowns. Like it has to be said, Argueta had to try really, really, really hard for those takedowns and got reversed a couple of times. Like Haddon got on top a couple of times throughout the fight, including in the second round, and even got takedowns of his own. So like fantastic work there. And the boxing was really, really good. I landed 46-18, 37-20, and 65-27. People are calling him pillow hands. This is a guy who did knock out. I'm blanking on the dude's name. Of course, my steel trap of a memory letting me down here a little bit. Who was it? It was. Oh, I think it was just the guy off Contender Series, Billy Brand. Yeah, it was Billy Brand. He knocked him out faster than Peyton Talbot did. And obviously, like, different fighters, different strokes and so on. Obviously, like, this comes into play. I'm not going to say, like, because of that, Haddon has more power than Peyton Talbot. I'm just saying, I think, hold off on counting him out as far as, like, a pillow-handed guy. I don't think he has amazing power or anything like that, but I do think that he's got a little something near him. I'm interested to see where it goes. Like it's solid fundamental application of boxing as well as good knees. That was the one thing I liked is as soon as Argueta was obviously like throwing the takedowns and hadn't got a feel for it, it's like boom knee, boom knee, boom knee. You want to shoot in here? Knee. You want to shoot in here? Knee. You're gonna get the knee. And and he also worked the body, which is the way to my heart. So there you go. Again, I think Cody Haddon looked really, really good here. Dan Argueta is a tough guy, but like also very, very simplistic. So I'm not going to say like future champion or anything like that, but I'm interested to see where he goes. I've got him against Cameron Simon in his next fight. And Argueta is a really, really good guy to keep around. He's had a weird UFC career, and I would not be surprised to see him get cut. It would not in any way surprise me that a guy who has gone 1-3 with 2 no contests, where his only win is against Nick Aguirre, who is bad. Nick Aguirre is very bad. And if you need any proof of that, please, I welcome you to go check out his fight with Peyton Talbot. That was not Talbot looking amazing as much as it is just him being terrible. Don't get me wrong, I like Peyton Talbot. I think he is a guy I wouldn't be surprised to see have the belt. But there's a reason Aguirre has been cut and is off on the regional scene, apparently beating a guy named Frank Osborne at Absolute Combat League number 4 in Iowa. So there you go. Hey, that's a promotion I've never heard of. Got to add that to the simulator. Let's do that. Let's do it. All right. They've got Luis Saldana on the next card. Wow. This is definitely a place where you go after you wash out of the UFC, it appears. Luis Saldana versus Edward Massey. Nothing else here. You got a guy who's 2-2 versus 0-0, 0-0, 1-3, 0-0, 0-0, 3-5, 2-2. 2-0, 9-3. That's AM fight. A couple AM fights here. So yeah, not great. But hey, they do have Luis Saldana, and they did have Nick Aguirre right off of his UFC release. So there you go. But getting back to Argueta, he's a very, very basic challenge. But like, he does go out there and he will apply pressure to somebody and be a way of testing guys who just get away with bullying on the regional scene. Because that is a lot of the guys who come off Contender Series, where it's like, I am not convinced that you can't just that you aren't just a bully. And that's why I would keep him around. It's been bad, but like, that's why I would keep him around. But if they cut him, I'm not surprised. Clayton Carpenter versus Luis Rocha. Rocha, again, the problem of the lack of takedown defense is a big problem here. Also, Bisping calling Clayton Carpenter technical right at the start of the fight. That was hilarious because Carpenter is messy. It works. He's a good athlete. He's chaotic and so on. But like, no. Technical is not the word I would use. Although getting better. Anyways, they get out there and they're doing a good job with the striking. Rocha was landing better strikes when it was kind of like a little bit passive, when they were going like 1 for 1. It was a little sharper, a little crisper. But then Carpenter would like start to flurry, and Rocha's game would kind of break down a little bit. And then you get the takedown, lots of good top control from Carpenter with some good, good GMP, good positioning. Thought about a darts choke at one point. I thought it was a dart choke anyways, but it was a front headlock of some kind. And then, cuts him open with an elbow. Second round, Carpenter gets the takedown, gets the back, gets the job done with the RNC. Clayton Carpenter looked better, looked improved. MMA Lab looks like they're doing some really good things with him because he was very, very, very rough when he came in. Like, very messy. And it's getting better, and I appreciate that, and I want to see more. I'm loving it. Carpenter versus Alessandro Costa is my matchup. And for Rocha, I've got Felipe Dos Santos in a fight that would let hopefully both guys kind of show off what they got, because they're like very exciting, very fun, but they're both also very very flawed in a way that like a lot that is going to cause them to lose a lot in the UFC. So while we have them both here, let them fight each other. That would be my request. All right. Everybody, you know the deal. Down below, there is links to the social medias, to the YouTube, to the other places you can find this podcast, and the Discord simulator, or the Discord server, where you can get Fight Simulator results and make yourself a fighter and go through a career in mixed martial arts. Boom. Congratulations to Jack on winning the heavyweight title in the simulator. And also, you can find my video games stuff if you are a nerd like me. That is all. Have a good one. And this will be up probably Monday morning.